It would be great to have someone who could do our work for us, right? Someone to prevent us from making mistakes. Someone to assist with our routine professionally and allow us to devote our time to communicating with our closest people. If only we could get results without wasting our time for nothing. Unfortunately, it's impossible in real life. But wait, Light Forex Social Trading. Spend your time doing what really matters to you.
Hi guys, good morning, 2nd of September 2019, 8 AM CET, 7 AM London, Piotr here, meaning that we are about to start pre-London Open live market coverage only here on Global Light Forex YouTube channel. Let's start with a risk warning, guys. Please bear in mind, trading FX on margin carries a high level of risk, may not be suitable for investors. You can sustain a loss of some or all initial investment, so please do not invest the money you cannot afford to lose. Seek education, gain experience before risking real money. However, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Okay. So what we have? Looks like a busy weekend. We gapped up here on the dollar Chinese yuan. Retest of the most recent high, a little bit of the pullback right now. We don't need this flag triangle anymore. This is the equal move, so the possible target, let's make it that way, is around 725 to 726. That's what we discussed previous week. So that's the first thing first, right? The Chinese PMI manufacturing via Caixin a little bit better what the market was expecting. We got back above 50. The questions about manipulation here, and of course the situation in Hong Kong doesn't help. What we know is that Chinese officials are going to have a press conference in regards Hong Kong. On Tuesday they are going to address the issues in Hong Kong. A few strong words over the weekend towards US. That's the first thing. We are going to discuss more this tomorrow with Michał when he prepare all the stuff from weekend. So we are going to connect with Michał tomorrow. So first thing first, China gap up because of what I've mentioned on the dollar Chinese yuan. The second thing is that we had a gap down on yen crosses, but right now we are trying to get back and close that gap, and looks like at least dollar yen did it. And we had also because of all of this, we had also the gap down on the indices. Now the thing is that market makers are trying to calm the market down a bit here. One of the reasons might be bank holiday in US and Canada, right? So it's worth to remember that the guys in US and Canada they have a long weekend. Australian Prime Minister Morrison says he expects weaker Q2 GDP. That's what we are going to have a discussion with Michał tomorrow as well. It's worth to mention that one of the reasons of the gap down here on the yen crosses could be the information we got during the Tokyo session that Bank of Japan cuts the purchase of the bonds with maturity between 10 and 25 years to 100 to 140 billion, as far as I remember. Let me check that. Yeah, to 140 billion from 160, but no change into 25 plus at 40 billion. What else when we are talking about the events over the weekend? Practically that's it. The weekend Eastern German elections. Yeah, Argentina imposed currency controls over the weekend, restricts buying of USD. Yeah, tariffs that are set to go in place on Sunday against China are still on. So all of this, right? All of this are gonna be discussed tomorrow during our conversation with Michał. Today I want to focus strictly on charts. Okay. And let's start with monthly chart of the dollar yen. What is all about? The low here from the monthly chart, it's a November 2016. It was the election month in US, presidential election month in US, right? We are approaching the next election soon. Anyway, there was a test of that zone, and we created the swing low in March 2018, all right? And previous month, July, there was a retest, there was a stop count just to clearly, as you can see, blue color, which represents weekly chart, to hit to the PIP, possible demand based on the weekly chart. So we hit the low, which has been created at the very beginning of 2019, as well as we hit the low created in the mid-March 2018, and we saw the rejection. That might be positive sign from the buyer's perspective. What is negative? That each week we made lower high, right? That's not encourage buyers. Anyway, let's get back to monthly chart. What I like here and what we discussed, it was the fight to build the lower shadow and to try to close above the low and open from the April 2018. So the open here was 106.17, the close was 23. And I would say that might be positive from the higher time frame perspective. That might be positive for bulls here. Of course, they had to do a lot of job here just to mention, for example, this falling trend line. So it's a monthly chart, it's gonna take time. I think we might see, because of this lower shadow, we might see at some point retest of this high towards 109. That's something we discussed previous week as well. But we are interested more in the short time frames. So on the weekly, we were testing huge demand zone based on the weekly chart and related to the 2016 November elections. And from here, even if we are going to get back just the reminder levels 107.30, a little bit higher as a possible supply. Let's switch to the daily chart here. What we were discussing was, if we can agree that this was nothing else, just another consolidation. And if you remember, we had previously this type of the consolidations on dollar yen as well, right? And if that was the stop count, something similar to what we've seen on the 25th of June. Let me clear a bit that one. Like here. So if that was something similar previous week, right, we went towards the top of that range, and that's what happened here as well. Again, based on this lower time frame, 107 plus towards 1730 as the first possible supply, but again, cannot be ruled out that we might see 108.20 and 109. This stops over here. Right, to be tested again, as it took place here on the 1st of July. So overall, right now, from the daily chart, there was a gap down. We closing that gap, right? There is a possibility that if the way of thinking about the range here is correct, we might see some stop count and still 107, 107.30 as the first line of supply. What about demand? If you remember, we were discussing few levels. Previous week, as I've been waiting for this swing low over here to be tested, right? Over under possible. So retest of 105. That's a possible buying opportunity on the dollar yen. So again, sellers top of that range, buyers bottom of that range, and I know it sounds easy, but sometimes it's it's not that easy, right? So the range on the dollar yen. Let's switch to the euro dollar. Here is a big thing. I'm talking about the huge close below 110, right? That's the huge development we were discussing. How does it look from the higher time frame perspective? All right. What is important from the highest time frame? If you remember this range, right? If you remember this range, and if we are not gonna take, if we are going to take into the consideration just bodies, not shadows, right? So we are testing right now. 50% of that range, as you can see. All right. So that's. Let me clarify. I'm bearish here. But because of the few things I'm going to talk about within next few minutes, I think a little bit of the bounce might be on the card, right? So bear with me. I'm going to try to explain. So first, if you remember from the monthly chart, that's 50% of that range, right? That's also possible demand based on the weekly chart, right? This is the demand here. All right. So it's from the weekly perspective, very important, right? Because from here, right? It was the week in the mid of May 2017. We react on this weekly chart based on the latest weakness, right? So here we go again. I do believe that it's going to be lower, but if we can try to imagine to ourselves some kind of the channel, right? We are at the bottom of the channel. That's why I think some kind of the bounce is possible even here from the weekly chart, right? Same as what we discussed on the monthly chart. Now, one more thing I noticed, and probably some of you as well, that every time we had a lowest close of the year, we saw a little bit of the bounce, or at least attempt to bounce, right? So no different 2 weeks ago. The lowest close in 2019, bounce, right? Previously, lowest close, bounce, right? So it's possible, right? It's possible that we are going to do the same this time. Here, April, lowest yearly close, bounce. Okay, so that's another reason I think we might see that one, right? And daily chart perspective here as well, we can create falling channel, and we hit bottom of that channel last Friday. Now, because it's totally to the point, to the peep, right? We know it's going to work as a magnet, right? We know, we discussed this a few times, we know it's going to work as a magnet. So in that case, what I would like to see, if I would be buyer, right? I would like to see attempt to go lower, to hit Friday low with quick rejection. So from the intraday perspective, right? From the intraday perspective, I want this low to be taken out. And I would like to see, if we are talking about the visualization, I would like to see something like this around from the intraday perspective, around this bottom of the channel, right? Okay. Now, I'm not, because of the possible low liquidity today, as again, reminder, US and Canada is on a bank of holiday, all right? I think this type of the manipulation is possible even today, okay? Now, what's going to be the target? The Friday high, right? So let's get back. Let's talk about the sellers, as they are dominating this market. Okay, because of this swing low we've seen at the very beginning of August, right? The swing low here, and the price action we've seen 23rd of August, right? When we reacted after the test, stop count, closing the business in relation to the swing low, rally, and then boom, right? So that's where I see first supply. I see supply around Friday high. And again, what kind of, I think we might see retest of this high this week. And then depends on what we are going to get. I would like to see, because it's daily chart, Wednesday, Thursday, ahead of the payrolls, non-farm payrolls. So yeah, that's gonna be like, I don't know, today, that might be Tuesday, and let's say that's Wednesday, right? But I would like to see upper shadow, maybe, yeah, that's gonna be the explanation. Upper shadow, something around the Friday high, rejection, and lower close, right? That might be, I'm not saying it's gonna work 100% of the time, but that might be short setup, and in case we are not going to take this low today, that might be set up for a late of this week or very beginning of the next week to try to take this low and retest the bottom of the channel again. Bears are looking for 108.50, 108, right? So that might be the first setup. bulls to try to neutralize this bearish view, at least they have to get back above this zone, above this swing, right? Above this broken swing low. And close above the Friday range, right? If that's going to happen, if we as a bulls will manage to get the close above, usually it's a doubling the move. So then levels close to 1150, top of the channel might be in place, but probably that's not going to happen unless we are not going to hit more stops here to the downside. I'm going to watch very carefully euro dollar. Looks very interesting, and if everything's going to go the way I'm thinking about here, in that case we should be fine on euro dollar and doing well from that perspective. Now let's talk about the cable for a while. First thing first, you are more than welcome to join me today, 10:15 a.m. CT, 9:15 a.m. London. We are going to cover UK manufacturing PMI, which might be the a little driver for the pound, but we understand that the key point driver is there are stuff related to the Brexit, all those discussions between the Boris Johnson and his opposition. So opposition is trying to make no deal Brexit not possible, right? So there was a few meetings over the course of the weekend. So that's the key driver, right? But I think because of the situation from the higher time frame, if we are going to get some kind of the surprise, right, positive, negative, towards the number, towards the UK PMI manufacturing number, it might be short-lived, but hopefully we are going to get some action. So there are going to be possibility for us to try to trade this pound this morning once we are going to cover it live. Now, from the monthly perspective, here on cable, right, that was the lowest close here, right, lately, when we were trying to escape this 120 to the upside, right? That's the lowest close. Now, 2 months ago, right? Last month, it's a doji, right? There are, of course, unlimited possible scenarios, but what I'm gonna to look for, I'm going to, as a seller, I would like to see some kind of the spike towards previous month high, or maybe even this broken swing low, right? So let's make some changes on that monthly chart. Right, so a little bit above the range which has been created in July, right, like 62%. So I would like to see the spike towards 125 from the higher time frame perspective, right, to try to reject, so retest of the maybe even yearly open 2750. So that would be, yeah, this type of the price action we discussed on euro dollar in relation to the last Friday, right? Because this July range is a key here. So we might see 1 month, 2nd month, because we were trying to take out the low. We didn't actually. So maybe it's time to look for stops around the high of the July from the higher time frame perspective, right? So from that perspective, yeah, that what I would like to see as a seller. And of course, as a buyer, as you can see, today's low as the first day of this September is 21.38. Jeez, I need July low. July low 21.19, 21.19.38. I think we might hunt some stops to try to close the business, right? 21.19, 21.19, 21.19, 21.19. I'm gonna to explain in a second. The July low, so the bulls might want to try to create swing low here, right? And you know, if you were, we held 3 educational webinars. They were long. As I mentioned, in September and October there are gonna be some new things going on. One of these is gonna be short videos about the strategies I'm using. So here the bulls may want to try to finish the business, retest 21.19, 21.20. And trying to push higher. So that's how I see the things from the buyer's perspective, right? So for example, trying to hit stops related to the previous week low, right? Similar situation we discussed about the stop hunt on euro dollar, right? And there is a chance, because we are still fighting with this top of the channel from the daily chart, right? Okay. Now, we used to work with these equal waves to the upside as a correction inside this channel, right? But let's have a look the latest weakness on the cable. All right, let's have a look latest weakness on the cable and how we are working with that. So I'm going to watch this 21.20, 21.19. Jeez. Very, very carefully. So that might be the same situation we discussed with euro dollar, just stop hunt in relation to the previous week low, Friday low, for example, and trying to hold this candle, right, bottom. It's also related and reacted into that level, right? So very, very interesting situation here on the pound as well, all right? So we went from the higher time frame to the lower time frame because it's a new month, new challenges, all right? New month, new challenges. So we have to know where we are from the higher time frame. Now, from the intraday perspective, right? As you can see, we made the measure of this intraday channel, and there is still a little bit of the space. We have this demand, so looks like we went from from the monthly chart to intraday chart, and everything is around this 21.20. So that's gonna be very, very interesting. Of course, close below gonna be confirmation of the pound weakness coming in, and because of what we discussed, the first retest of this level for me, it's gonna be some kind of the attempt to try to join the party to the upside if I see any kind of the price action suggesting that, yeah, we are going to defend that level. So Of course, it's the beginning of the month, so we are going to go through this process of checking the higher time frames first on different crosses as well, right? But let's try to summarize what we already have. Beginning of the new month, beginning of the September, what we were discussing in relation to the three majors. So dollar yen, I think it's a sell the top of the range, buy the bottom of the range as of now, after some kind of the stops been taken out. In case of the sellers, we are talking no change to what we discussed previous week. We are talking about the 107 plus towards 107.30, and to the bottom we are talking about the levels close to or between 105.25, 105.05. So that's the current dollar yen range. When we are talking about the euro dollar, I would like to see from the buyer's perspective, I would like to see manipulation to the downside, taking out Friday low and trying to reject. And there is a, because of the bank holiday in US and Canada today, there is a very good moment to try to manipulate that market that way, right? In case of the sellers, I wanna see some kind of the midweek reversal. So I would like to see retest of the Friday high and end of the day, Wednesday or Thursday, with upper shadow but below Friday high, right? So for both, for buyers and for sellers, he's here as well. And cable, I'm looking to buy around 21.20 during the first test, but I do understand the risk. I do understand that pound might be very volatile these days, and all about Brexit, all about the discussion between the Boris Johnson and his opposition in relation to the Brexit, and opposition is trying to stop the possibility of the no-deal Brexit, right? So pound is going to react on this. But don't forget, we are going to cover pound event, UK PMI manufacturing today, 10:15 a.m. CET, 9:15 a.m. London. Quickly about the indices, about the Nasdaq. Long lower shadow, but in my view, and we have to clear this. Yeah, let's make some cleanings, late summer cleanings. But this time, I think it is not going to be the buying opportunity, right? I think we might see a little bit higher levels, and you remember probably what been discussed based on the daily chart. Over under might be in play based on what we have from the daily chart perspective, 7,850. So what we have based on previous, before we made this high, of what we have here, it could be like this as well. But I do like this 7,850 idea, because it's also from where we went higher, from where we create the high here, right? So no change here. Looking for some kind of the stop count, right? I'm looking for some higher levels, stop count, and I'm going to watch for the price action around 7,850, maybe a little bit higher. It's gonna be aggressive approach, and if you are a conservative one, you wanna see some kind of the price action above, but the close back inside, right, below this high. From the buyer's perspective, if you do believe that no way, Piotr, you are wrong, we are going to see much higher levels, so in that case you are taking the latest price action as the whole range trading, right? And you want to buy the somewhere closer to the bottom, right? And in that case, we are talking about the levels close to 7,350, 7,300, right? But be careful in case of the breakdown of this consolidation. The next target gonna be this low, right? And looks nice setup. They know well in advance how to create the range, right? Of course, we can also talk and discuss breakout. In that case, also might be very interesting. Right? So we know where we are from the Nasdaq perspective.